why don't you guys add some incentives to it, as in improving your CIBIL score or credit score on paying timely, on paying your electricity bill in timely manner?
Right.
That could be one of the added layer of modes to your business model.
Two things. One, I'm not going to say so much about things that is under construction now. There are certain things that we are doing that is kind of aligned in that direction. But also, particularly that credit score thing, I think that makes sense at a population scale. Right? Today, we are okay with saying it, we are a pretty boutique solar solution to many people. Right? At that scale, I don't think it's right fit to introduce now. But there's a bunch of things that we are building that is designed for population scale that's coming up soon. I think these will be add-ons and aggregates.
Welcome to the Enerparc Energy Podcast.
Welcome, Mathew, to the Enerparc Energy Podcast, and thanks for giving your time to share your insights about the solar energy and how you began your journey.
Man, I appreciate being here.
Quick questions to start with, and we'll try to know more about that. What has ignited you to start and move into the renewable energy industry? And as I've seen and gone through your journey, and we've been a part of your journey also from a long ago on a personal level, I wanted to ask that SundayGrids was the first full-time professional opportunity that you have took, right?
Yeah.
There was no corporate jobs, there was no entrepreneurship aspects earlier also. But what has driven you to start SundayGrids? And it's been 4 years, if I know, right? So what has been your personal journey and the approaches which has backed you to go for this long? And what is your vision for SundayGrids?
Okay, starting with the heavy questions. Well, I don't think me nor my co-founders, for that respect, started SundayGrids because we were like inherently wanted to be entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. It was mostly that we wanted something like this to exist, and we thought, well, might as well do it by ourselves, right? Journey-wise, my background is that I'm a industrial designer. Mm-hmm. I specifically focused in my college days on systems design. That is essentially how the entire the architecture of things work, how does things flow and connect with each other and all of that stuff. And for some reason during that journey really got excited about energy, right? Mm-hmm. In some ways, if you think about it, the biggest machine us humans have ever built is the grid, right? And it's extremely complex. There's a lot of stakeholders, there's a lot of engineering, business, mechanics that all goes into it. So it was like a really intriguing challenge at that time. I would say like many people, I really got interested in climate action. I wanted to figure out what is it that we could do for it. And from my perspective, from the data that we have seen as well, energy plays both. One, it's a very upstream thing, so everything else that you do kind of follows the path of energy, and at the same time, just as energy itself, it's like a really large contributor to carbon emissions and where we are today in the state of climate change as well. So wanted to figure out how is it that we could play a role over there, right? Something you will probably hear me talk more today, I often bring this up everywhere I go, is the power of defaults. Today, you press a switch, light comes up, you don't really think beyond that because it's such a very convenient default way of doing things. So we want to build a new default in many ways on how people can think about climate and solar.
During your journey, how did you feel like convincing people to do the right thing? Because first, we are also sitting in a studio. Yeah. There are too many lights, but nobody cares about what is the source of the electricity that we are having. Is it running through the renewable energy or renewable power or the conventional grid? Right. How difficult it is to convince to the people that why it is very essential to switch to the renewable alternative. I guess I think it's very easy to convince the corporate and industrial side of it because there is a financial link benefits to it, but what about residential customers?
As a consumer, we ourselves are consumers, right? The choices we make, going back to this power of defaults, is essentially you want things that are faster, cheaper, and better, right? That's always the way. today to go and guilt somebody into, hey, you know what, this is creating an issue from a, at a very systems climate level approach, I think that's not going to pan out, because at some point you're going to get exhausted with anxiety, right? There are too many politically, climate-wise, there are too many things that's going on in the world. Probably people are just going to shut down, and we ourselves feel it. That's what doom scrolling entirely ended up being. So essentially, the way we think about it is, solar or whatever we build should essentially become faster than with the, going solar should be faster. Going solar, the methodologies we do should be better than the existing archetype, and more importantly, it should be cheaper than whatever the default state of today is. Right? So we think that any value prop that we've built needs to hit all the three notes to essentially get there. And when we started, we were thinking about a bunch of things. Agrivoltaics, we were thinking about floating solar. There was a bunch of things that we were doing. The reason why we kind of honed into this and kind of like went all in is because we kind of felt like this kind of helped us create a platform ecosystem to do other things on top of it. But more importantly, this is one of those few ideas that we had that actually ticked all three, right? Being faster, better, and cheaper.
Correct. One of the more things that I'm fascinated about while I see the journey of SundayGrids is the design aspect of it. When I say design, it's not about the UI UX that we talk about or the front end aesthetics that is been there throughout your marketing collaterals or your websites. It's more about designing the systems, design for innovation, right? When you said that it should be faster, the customer should be able to switch at a speed from the conventional to the renewable energy sources, right? How important and crucial it was as per your design background, as in the educational background which you had, right? So how it has translated into an advantage while building SundayGrids?
Yeah. So short answer is, like, out of the three co-founders, two of them are designers.
There are no short answers.
Yeah. So it was pretty easy to like explain between ourselves what is it that we wanted and kind of build around it. But also in the very beginning itself, because the first thing that we do is the mom test, right?
Correct.
You have an idea, you basically pitch it to your mom and see if she understands it. And one thing we realized really early on is what we internally call as the notion of baggage of notions. In a sense, like, in many ways you can think of this as a first mover disadvantage, right? If something does not exist and you're trying to build, that requires not only you to align on the incentives that you get, the value you get, but also the how it works part. You are actually doing a lot more of awareness and education to the end customers, right? That's a really exhaustive, but not just for you as a company, but also for someone to sit and listen to you for that long as well, right? So we figured out we need to have a buy-in from the customer, like buy-in in terms of why should that customer give us that attention? Why should someone care about something like this, right? And out of all the tools that we have in our scope, design tended to be the one that we could really leverage, and it kind of worked out in our favor because we are very inherently a consumer business, a B2C customer, right? Predominantly our customers our users are all residential users, and they come from all different age groups, they come from different backgrounds, different tier cities, all of those. So building a very consumer friendly business was like really important for us.
Now, how did your mom test go? Did your mom told that you should pursue a corporate job rather than an entrepreneurial stint?
I had two advantages. One, I'm very young. I just told them, like, imagine I do my master's and waste 4 years on that, 3 years on that, or I do this for 3 years and let's see where it goes. And the second advantage I had, I mean, it's not a good thing to say it's an advantage, but it happened right in the middle of the pandemic where no one had any idea what the future is going to look like. So the threshold to basically convince her was also a little easier. I'm like, yeah, better than doing that.
Probably that was the first pitch session that you had.
At my own home, because it was work from home all the place. Okay.
How did you, all of the co-founders met, which are there currently in the SundayGrids?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like me and, so I have two co-founders, Tarun and Nasir. Me and Tarun, we were best pals since college. He did user experience design, I did product design, and we used to collaborate a bunch. We used to sit and listen to music together during college. So like that's been like a really good bond that we had. Post college, I kind of knew that I wanted to get into the space, not necessarily SundayGrids, but like something to do with energy and stuff. Wanted to have a little bit more of a grassroots level understanding. So for that reasons, like joined a non-profit here based in Bangalore itself called SELCO Foundation. That's where I met Nasir, who takes care of he's an electrical engineer by background. He takes care of our infrastructure and all that stuff. So we met over there. So me and Nasir's conversations and, rolled over and became what eventually became SundayGrids. Yeah.
Great. So one more question most on to the how you have been abroad, right? So does personal prejudices has in some way affected how the SundayGrid is today, both in positive and negative ways? Has it affected?
Yeah, I would say every day. And I think that kind of goes with anyone creating anything, right?
Correct.
They bring in their own, like there are things we are comfortable doing, there are things we are not comfortable doing. I am someone who's very conservative when it comes to money. And I sometimes feel like as a company, we are stewards and, of people who basically came and put in for the capital on these projects, etc. So I feel like it's a responsibility of ours to think any decision you can take in a 2-second decision, take 2 minutes, right?
So currently you are serving CEO, right?
Am I?
Serving CEO at SundayGrids, right? Moreover, you can take a parallel responsibility of a CFO also. With instinct.
Yeah, I think I have spent more times with spreadsheet than with Figma ever since I started this company. So yeah.
Okay. So how's the business going on? How can you walk through us from the day zero, like when you have piloted your first project?
Right.
What was the project? Which year it was?
Sure.
And how it went?
Sure. So let me just start with a quick background on what SundayGrids is.
Yeah.
Right. We are what we call as a community solar platform. Community solar in the sense, instead of small capacities on rooftops, on individual rooftops, we aggregate all that together onto a large system. Okay. This large system does not have to be on your rooftop or even in your city. It can be anywhere across the country. And we have built a technology layer that helps people connect to that plant. So essentially that's kind of how it became community solar, because Abhimanyu, you, me, etc., we could basically reserve capacity as per our requirement. I may require a 2 kilowatt, you may require a 5 kilowatt. We can actually make that reservation onto that plant. Now what will happen is, when the simpler way of saying this, when sunlight hits on it, energy gets generated, and when that energy then translates to savings on your power bill.
Okay.
Right. This is basically what SundayGrids does.
So if I am a residential customer, how would it get into the system?
Right. So when people think about solar, and particularly when they think about all those mechanics of solar metering, right, they think mostly from an energy delivery. Right. Energy is getting generated, I am consuming it, my surplus is going elsewhere, etc. But the more you look into it, it's actually an energy settlement problem.
Okay.
Right. 1 unit of energy that you generate on your rooftop, the grid, it goes to the grid. It's not that the grid has its own storage. The grid is actually pushing that power to somebody else.
Correct.
Right. They don't know that the power came from solar. You don't know who it went to. Right. Essentially what we are creating is a quasi model of something of that similar nature. So essentially what we are able to do is, every unit of energy that is being generated, like let's say the plant is in Rajasthan and yours here in Bangalore, it does not make real much of sense to basically wheel that power all the way from there to you here.
Correct.
Right? Because of losses and other reasons. What we do is we deliver that power somewhere nearby itself. Okay, whether it's on the premise of where we install the solar or somewhere nearby. In doing so, this goes through a process where it turns that energy unit to an energy credit. A credit is nothing but a rebate or a discount that you get on your power bill. Right. It has the really cool thing about it is, because credit is fiat in nature, right? Like if you think about a unit of power, right? What you pay for a unit of power in Tamil Nadu versus what you pay for it in Delhi, in Bangalore, is all very different.
Correct.
Right? But to say that you're getting a 50 rupee discount on your power bill means the same whether you're in there or in Delhi or wherever else.
Correct.
Right? So, and what that also allows us to do is, from day one, we were able to serve around 70 plus utilities across the country.
Oh, great.
Right. We didn't have to knock on the doors of each and every utility and get the integration. We were able to serve a really broad set of customers that way.
Correct.
So that's essentially the mechanism. It turns into credit, and that what you do as a customer today. You probably would have you probably use your Google Pay or Phone Pay, etc., to make your bill payments, right? You add your utility details, you fetch your bill, pay it. It's almost 1:1 with us as well. You come over here, you link the bill. That will allow us to read what the bill value is, and also add these credits onto the bill, right? So it's for a customer, it's as easy as just switching from paying on Google Pay to paying on SundayGrids.
Correct. And has the MVP changed, like from earlier? What you have, moreover, the moat has changed or not, like in the last 4 years? Like how you have progressed in terms of it, and what is the currently moat that you are playing around at the SundayGrids?
So again, coming back to we think in phases. I think we are in a phase 1 of this distributed community energy ecosystem, and therefore the most important thing for us to build out was the community layer of community solar, not just the solar technology layer.
Correct.
Right? So I would say in many ways our community, the people that we serve, they also then, every project has its own communication groups where they can see what's happening with the panels, when did the cleaning happen, if there's a over generation, oh look at how sunny the sky is, if there's an under generation, someone in Mumbai can basically tell someone in Chennai that, hey, this is what the sky looks like right now.
And is there anyone who's managing the communities, or the people who are the part of the community, or they are only handling the communities?
In early days, it used to be us, and it was just a convenient way for us to. We didn't think too much about when we started the community aspect. It was just like a easier way for us to broadcast information pertaining to the project. But what we started soon seeing is that people started taking ownership, and there's few people that are like ambassadors now. When a very new customer comes in, they will have tons of questions around solar. Now it's rarely that we need to go and intervene. The community itself, basically, veterans in the community tell to the newbies, and then they eventually become veterans.
Have you cracked any insights due to which the communities are self-sustaining? Like, if anyone in any new startups wants to build a community around their product, what do you advise? Like, how do they start building a community around it?
We actually, this is a conversation we've been having recently. I think a lot to do is with it's a multiplayer experience in many ways. Today, if I have a solar plant on my home and you do too, what my generation has nothing to do with yours.
Correct.
Right? So what is there to talk about? Right? Today, let's say some 30-40 users are basically experiencing the same plant, the same generation. Correct. And they're dealing with it, right? So there is a level of multiplayerness in it, right? So they both are, the narrative for both of them become centrally around the same thing, and then that really helps.
How big is the community now at SundayGrids?
I think around 1,500 plus community members.
Great.
Yeah.
And most of them are active?
Yeah. So there are two parts to it, right? We see our user behavior be on the very diametrically opposite ends at all times. Sometimes in one end, we have customers who come almost every day to see how the power generation's been and keep a high track of it.
Correct.
And then there are customers who would come only to pay their power bills.
Correct.
Right? Once in a month, or in certain states where it is bi-monthly, once over there. Right? So we do see ebbs and flows in that engagement. The ones who are hyperactive, every time there's something regarding a rain, there's a new policy drop, they have a conversation about, hey, did you see about this new policy, etc. Yeah.
And there's a lot of push from government also when you talk about solar energy industry, and specifically from the top-down approach from the government. And I don't think the awareness for solar industry as such is low in most of the states when it comes to residential solar, because most of it is linked with subsidies again, and people are made aware of it through the top level government officials also. Where do I think that physical solar might be a problem in adapting at the residential level is the space availability, right? I guess that is the one of the insights that you are also building your business on. Can you elaborate some more on that?
Sure. Yeah, you're right. I don't think we are now at a point where we need to tell people that when sunlight hits on the panels, energy gets generated.
Correct.
It's the game is in the nuances in many ways. But zooming out and when you look at our business, it's mostly to do with two things: accessibility and anxiety. Okay. Today, let me starting with accessibility. All the subsidy that you mentioned, it's eligible for only people who have a rooftop to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah.
A majority of our country now lives in cities, and the verticalization of cities is happening rapidly as well.
Correct.
Right? What is someone who lives in an apartment supposed to do?
Correct.
Right? And more importantly, if you look at our metros, a significant portion of them live as renters, tenants.
Correct.
Right? Maybe they'll stay in a place for 2 years and then move to the next one, and so on and so forth.
Correct.
I can't lug around my solar panels from location to location and basically do it. So that's the accessibility problem, right? And it also evolves into a way where, a second order impact of that is also a couple of anxieties around it, right? Today, yes, I can go install solar, but what is the guarantee that no taller building will come next to my house and cast shadows on it?
Correct.
Right? Or today I have an installer who could help me out with installing the plant. He's super active for the first year or so.
Correct.
But this is a long-term commitment for me. If something happens, who is there to take care of it? Who will, right? I don't have the technical know-how to do it.
Yeah.
So it has evolved now to solve for those kind of anxiety, and it has also evolved that we do see people who even have sufficient enough roof space on their buildings even come for digital solar just because they don't want to deal with the hassles of the maintenance and the installation, etc., because we end up being end-to-end managed for them.
Correct. So you yourself as a company might be owning some assets or developing some assets.
Yeah.
How do you mitigate these kinds of risk wherein, for say, just citing your inside that there might be some taller buildings coming to you, the locations you have already installed, and it's a 20-25 years of commitment.
Right.
How SundayGrids offset that risk as a business, as an enterprise?
Fair. So to the first question about our assets and how do we do it. When we started off the business, all the plants that we installed were done by us. We have reached a point now where we have third-party solar installers and developers who actually go build out the plants, and then they come to us to connect it to the platform.
Okay.
Right? So we now have become more of an aggregator model than as someone who was originator of those assets in many ways. Now, the way we de-risk is on a bunch of ways. Number one, it could be anything, right? Weather, it could be, let's say, the place where we have installed, they're doing some site work and they have to shut down their mains, etc., right? So this is where deem generation comes into play. What that means is essentially every customer who basically reserves, they get a forecast calculator. Okay, that will essentially show, depending upon which month, in which year, how would the generation is expected to go. Right, because solar has a degradation curve. Also, seasonality comes into play.
Correct.
June, July, August time is a month. Like right now is like a monsoon time, and then winters we start seeing the bump up in generation, and so in summers. So essentially, to basically mitigate those kind of challenges is essentially where we have a secure generation guarantee. Okay, which is essentially that this is the forecast, and a certain level of it is actually guaranteed. If it actually falls down, essentially our developer partners, they essentially compensate for it. Okay, that's part one. Part two is essentially now what if the places where we install the solar systems, what if something happens over there?
Correct.
Right? This is where we have an escrow system, and into that escrow system we have a security deposit from the location where we have installed. That amounts to around 6 to 12 months of receivables in terms of energy.
Okay.
Right? The reason why that time period also makes sense for us is because these developers that we onboard, right, we ensure that they at least have a 30% of the capacity they have installed on a site in terms of their pipeline as well. Right? So that SD, the security deposit, can also be considered as a moving charges if you have to move the panels from one location to the other.
Correct.
And then many times it has happened in our own context where a taller building has come or some redevelopment had to happen to the building where itself, and we have to move the panels around within the premise itself. And so this helps us do that. Or the best part is because it has a developer who is basically backing it, if we have to upscale a system from 100 to 150 or to downscale a system from 100 to let's say 70 kilowatt, that's possible.
a lot of buzz is there about the startups and the ecosystem around the world. Like, and India has been in the journey that we are having a good amount of startups which has become unicorn, and there's a lot of boost and confidence amongst the youngsters also to start up now.
Right.
What has been the one core belief that kept you going, that this is the idea which will work and we can scale it up at a certain level, right? Because it is very, very essential when things go south, right? You start questioning yourself that why you started it, right?
Yeah.
And you start finding your purpose again, and it is entirely the rework of your beliefs, and it's a very painstaking journey. I have also experienced some of in my past journeys. So, okay, could you elaborate more about what has been that one belief that has kept SundayGrids going? Your own personal belief or company as a whole, you can take it up.
So you're kind of asking about what's the North Star for us, right?
Correct.
In some ways.
Yeah.
So I have a very non-businessy answer to this. When we started off, right, one of the reasons why we chose, okay, hey, let's go out and build this, is what we started seeing is, particularly in solar first, right, is things happen in waves.
Correct.
Right. The first wave was essentially people installing solar panels on their rooftops, and that's more or less what we call as a prosumer phase. Right. The person who is generating the power and consuming the power remained the same.
Correct.
Right. Then with open access and a bunch of things, we started seeing that bifurcate, but at a commercial or industrial level. Right. What we kind of projected, and now coming back to all the push from the government, subsidy, or a bunch of things, what we also now start seeing is that the third phase for solar, and which we really believe is here to stay, is at a retail or a residential level, you're going to have a decoupling happening of who is generating power and who is consuming power.
Okay.
Right? Now, if SundayGrids exist or not, I think that is going to happen. Right? We think we can make a dent in it, and it's a worthwhile dent to make.
Correct.
Right. Now coming to why it matters to us, is our three of us founders, for instance, all of our journey to basically building SundayGrids is very different. For me, it's, as I mentioned earlier, climate has become like a really pivotal point, a focal point for me in many things that has happened. But let's say for Tarun, building cool, exciting products matters, and that's a really cool thing. Like it adds a lot of heart to the thing.
Correct.
Right? Nasir really likes solving tough problems. If a problem seems more tougher, the more exciting it gets. Right? So I think the three of us play it really well between each other also. Right? And three also helps that way, because when one goes down to two can lift up, or if two have a conflict, the third one can be a tiebreaker. So it really helps that, that dynamics between the three of us work really well.
If not, SundayGrids has happened to all of the three founders. What do you think? What was the career journey of three? Because you know all of the other founders also, right? It's more of a informal answer, but what you would have become if not SundayGrids?
I would have been a writer.
Okay, interesting.
I think so. I mean, I'm a designer first and foremost, but I think my way of understanding things is when I write things out. So I really, even now I enjoy writing.
So mostly reflection through writing.
Okay, I mean, that's deep. Sometimes it's just nonsense I write, but I like writing. Yeah.
Great. So, when did you think that SundayGrids got a big break, as in like the peak curve when it has happened? You might have thought that this is the opportunity that we should cherish, right? It can be an investment. It can be customer base that you have acquired. It can be anything, the problem that you solved, right? So what was the aha moment of SundayGrids in the last 4 years, like any biggest moment?
I think more than one big moment for us. It has been a lot of smaller inflection points, right? During COVID, we were sitting at home and building this out.
Correct.
Everything revolved around the fact that BBPS, Bharat Bill Pay, which is the integration layer, should look at this and be like, yeah, you know what, it's okay. Right? You're welcome. You can basically do this.
Correct.
Right? I remember that being like a huge day for us, because at that time, I think Paytm, Google Pay, and maybe like 12 other other companies were in the space.
Correct.
And we were like the 13th or the 14th.
And that was practically the boom for all of the companies, like when in COVID.
Right.
When everything went digital.
Right.
It was an inflection point, largest inflection point for all of the digital payment platforms over there.
Yeah. Like the way we think about it is a lot of interesting products have been built on top of UPI. But when it comes to BBPS, we're still very nascent stage of building cool products on top of it. And we were pretty excited that we could be one of the first ones to do that. So that was one. Then of course, so in our story in so far, the first thing that happened for us was we got into Social Alpha. Social Alpha then created a accelerated track with Tata Power Solar, and that's when we understood the fundamental basics of solar from a more technical level. Right, the understanding the finance aspect of it and other parts of it. So they really helped us. Like, if not for Tata Power in that way, we may not have become what we are today. Right. They also helped us in many ways. More importantly, at that stage, who are we? Like, why should somebody participate and play with us, right? But having someone like Tata to be there really created a influencing aspect to it. The second part is IIM Bangalore. We were part of the launch pad with them. That's when we understood how to, at least, I wouldn't say we have understood it fully, but at least understood the knobs and dials of a business, right? What is a customer acquisition cost to all the way to how do you look at
it's everything new. Like you have all of you were from the design background and then you moved into startup ecosystem.
Right.
So everything comes at once, like finance, your tech side, marketing, everything, HR. Who has the employees in SundayGrids?
We are only 13 people now. We like to keep it small. And more importantly, so whichever of the vertical that whoever looks after, they are the ones who basically make a call on it, and that's it. As a policy, we don't, even till date, I do not know the age of any of my employees, nor do I know which college they went to. By policy, we keep it as a thing. I don't care where you're from.
Great. So hiring process is changing like at the last. Mostly, people debate often when you go in social media, is it degree or is it skill, right?
Oh, yes.
So what do you choose?
It's going to sound so cliche. Hire the character, skill can come later.
Good. Good answer.
So cliche. But it makes sense. I think experienced it firsthand as well. Yeah.
So as per my research on SundayGrids, I think Rainmatter has also been a big part of SundayGrids.
That's like the next inflection point.
So what has changed before and after the support or financial support from Rainmatter and the funding round?
They were our first investors actually. So IIM happened. It was some folks in the IIM space who then connected us with Rainmatter. At that time, I did not know what Zerodha was nor who those folks were. But it was like a really interesting...
There was no podcast back then, no?
There was no podcast back then.
No one is doing podcast from Zerodha's end also.
No, but then, I mean, I think they were pretty huge at that time as well. Correct. But this just goes to show how unconnected I am with finance as a segment. Did not know who they were, and that actually helped, because when we had our first call, I was like, okay, here are a few folks. And
it's also exciting when you don't know anything, and everything you learn on the daily basis, it's new and exciting.
Right. I would say Zerodha, if not, I would actually attribute a lot to do with Zerodha that we are here today, because number one, it's kind of funny how they work, right? We had a conversation. They were like, this is pretty exciting, but you need to figure out compliance.
Correct.
Right? And this is because that's the kind of business they are into as well.
Correct.
And we were like, yes, we need to figure out compliance. And even... and at that time, we were just like, we had our day jobs. I mean, just finished our day jobs and we started doing this full time. So whatever, we were just and also we didn't have to pay rent because we were all back at home because COVID.
Correct.
Right? So that was basically our bootstrap money that we had to basically build everything. They came in and said, right, you know what, you need to do this. You need to go through this process. And even before having to commit a penny, they said, you know what, we'll cover it.
Great.
Right? And they brought in some of the finest folks that we now know when it comes to regulations and legal on energy finance across Asia. Like Induslo is like a great team that way, and they kind of came in and they helped us out, figure out, okay, hey, you know what, this is how you structure this as a business that is compliant in nature. That was really helpful. That was like incredible. Even till today, like, you know, they ping up and say, hey, and do you guys need any help? What is it that we can do for you? And that's incredible. Great. Right? Just much like how Tata did in the capacity building phase, in the demand phase, having someone like the Kamath brothers really was a big win for us as well, because it kind of some of that trust wears into you, right? And it also tunes your brain into what kind of a behavior mindset that you need, which is really awesome.
Correct. Yeah. I've seen a LinkedIn post where Nitin has shared about SundayGrids. It was a short post, but it has introduced what SundayGrid is all about. Right? Is it a proud moment for all of the founders? Like, how is it?
Yeah. The first time our servers crashed.
Oh, great.
It was so good. We were so happy.
I mean, this is the power of personal branding.
Yeah. It was an incredible weekend, I would say. Yeah.
Or what was the traffic after that?
Oh boy. I would say it jumped in magnitude of 5x, 10x. Right, but that one or two nights, I think,
nobody slept.
Nobody slept. Yeah. In fact, our Cloudflare and all of the services are like, hey, is this an attack happening? What's happening? This is not how your traffic looks like. That was cool.
Great to hear that. So, one quick question. Most of the founders say that what keeps them going is the fear of somebody stealing their idea, right? Do you live by the same fear, or do you have a fear that some well-funded company will come in someday and maybe copy the idea and build something out of it? Do you also live by that fear?
Not really. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Right? Who wants to save up on power in this country?
Beg your pardon?
Like, do you pay an electricity bill?
Yeah.
Do you like it to get lower?
Yeah.
Right? So, because of the industry we work in, I think the TAM is too huge, right? It could be anyone and anyone.
Correct.
Right? That also means is there are a lot more opportunity to create different flavors, right? Our opinion onto this and how do those kind of modes exist in the future is that we wanted to become the lowest barrier way for anyone who has a solar plant to plug onto the system. Correct. So that it becomes available for the user. So tomorrow, if anyone wants to build a business, the easiest way to get started is to come to us rather than build it by themselves, right? And what that also means is if you're a bigger brand who may also own your own supply chains, you would want to prioritize on those, right? We get to be agnostic. And that's a really incredible skill, powerful thing that we can get to do, especially when technology is changing quite fast, right? We can move and experiment much quicker because of it. Good. So I think we are very comfortable with that. In fact, that means we kind of won, right?
Yeah. You might have been receiving offers for strategic partnerships or acquisitions also down the line. It's been 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Would you like to tell more about it?
No comments.
Classified information.
Classified information for now.
Great. So, I've been reading many of the rules and regulations, and it kept evolving how the industry is aging, right? And many things have changed in the last 10 years or 4 years since your inception also, like from 2020 till now. And government has also been piloting on P2P and community solar. The first example we have seen is with BSES, Dwarka, 1 megawatt Dwarka pilot project, right? Do you see government entering the community and P2P solar business as a direct threat or an opportunity for SundayGrids?
Massive opportunity, because it legitimizes the entire architecture, right? Today, community solar exists as a government mandated channel across Europe and States, but in India we are still at a very super nascent stage, right? It has its pros too, right? Let's say if you take Massachusetts, Boston, you take Germany, and other places where community solar really exists. they all have to be consolidated into small pockets, right? If you live in the jurisdiction of a utility where it is approved, you get to do it.
Correct.
But if you live elsewhere, you don't, right? The way we have been going about building digital community solar here is because of that BBPS thing that I mentioned earlier. We are able to serve pan country from day one. That's an ability that almost no other country has at the moment.
Correct.
Right. So that's a huge plus for in the Indian ecosystem that way.
Correct.
Now, if what the government is doing, and this is pretty cool, is that we are a community solar solution that exists at the settlement layer, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Right. They're building out more ways to create a community solar on the delivery layer. Right. And honestly, we are the biggest winners if that happens.
Correct.
From two aspects. Our existing architecture itself, instead of us delivering all that power to a one termination point, if we can able to spread it out, it's actually de-risking the entire asset itself. Right. Secondly, today, if you think about it, while yes, we have become faster, better, cheaper, the entry barrier is someone who wants to go for a 3 kilowatt system. Typically, rooftop solar would cost them 1.5 lakhs. With us, probably it's 1 lakh or 1.2 lakhs. That's the variation. But still, that's a hefty amount to pay, right?
Correct.
If we can collapse that entry barrier and just say that, hey, today you're paying 7 rupees per unit, come to us and we can give it to you at 6 rupees.
Correct.
It's such a big unlock for us, right? So this is why all this innovations is happening at the delivery layer.
Plus, there's an environment angle to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, two things are there. As per the recent policy and regulatory developments, SEBI has developed a framework, BRSR, for corporates, and it has mandated to report the ESG and to report your sustainable goals and to go net zero. What would you say if it same had happened to residential? How would that been turned up? So one thing is community solar. Second is some mandate, because there's no mandate in residential side of it. It's only subsidy which is incentivizing people. Right. So what do you think, like the mandate or the incentives? What would work better for residential physical solar or to move people to digital solar?
Interesting. So it's a stick and a carrot problem, right? A subsidy is a carrot, incentivizing them, or you create a mandate saying you have to do it.
It's more public policy.
It's public policy thing. Yeah. I would not be surprised if something like that happens, but I don't think it's going to happen at all electricity slab rates. It's probably going to first trickle down. Even BRSR, it has started with top 50, top 100, top
then
150, top 1000, right? We're going to probably see a version of that kind of play out. But because of those requirements, we have started getting enterprise customers now. Because if you look at, there's a lot of these businesses that have franchisees, dealerships, etc., where individual loads are not big enough for an open access system, but they also want to have a centralized way of basically discounting all their bills and get the green attributes. So digital solar has again become like a good fit for an enterprise. This is not what we set out and built. It just happens to be that because of these regulations, we are a good fit in that aspect as well.
Correct.
So that's happening as well. In the resi segment, I think time of day is going to play a big role. That's going to incentivize batteries. That's going to incentivize a lot of solar technology to be smarter.
Correct.
I think I'm pretty excited about how that phase is going to come out.
Correct. So one question on top of it is, if a corporate or an industry or a factory doesn't have a rooftop space, right, and doesn't also want to go to open access, would digital solar can play a picture in that?
Yeah, especially if you're a commercial space, like an office space, or you have a lot of this fragmented locations where your franchisees, distributors, dealerships, etc. exist. It can play a great role in that.
Correct. How do you compare third-party open access to digital solar?
Because
a lot of consumers or the factories, if you'll say, the load will be mostly, the businesses are seasonal, right?
Yeah.
So the load comes when the season comes.
Right.
So they don't have a year-round demand.
Yeah.
So how do you see digital solar being complementing that model? Because these kinds of factories are more comfortable in third-party open access because they get power whenever they need and at a cheaper rate and without longer commitment or PPS.
Absolutely.
Right. So what would you have to answer that?
So there are two parts to this. One is that today open access, particularly solar, green open access, is a great fit for companies or in industries which has a constant load throughout the day.
Correct.
Right? Because one of the things that happens is you don't get grid banking of that power. With digital solar, by nature, essentially each credit is also storage of energy in that sense.
Correct.
Because once it is generated, once it's in your wallet, you can use it whenever you want it.
Correct.
Right? So it kind of takes care of the additionality of the load that you are not able to meet with that sink that is required when the energy is being generated, when it's getting consumed.
Correct.
Right. Also on top of it, as I mentioned, you need to have these large load centers to make it viable for you. Right. The more you want to aggregate or disenfranchise that whole thing, I think that's another place where having a mechanism like digital solar can be a great fit. Right. And yeah, I think accelerated depreciation, credit input, a bunch of these things also favorably align in terms of incentivizing digital solar and CNI segments.
Correct. Great. One quick thought around digital solar model for residential sector is, why don't you guys add some incentives to it, as in improving your CIBIL score or credit score on paying timely, on paying your electricity bill in timely manner.
Right.
That could be one of the added layer of moats to your business model.
Right.
Yeah.
There are two things. One, I'm not going to say so much about things that is under construction now. There are certain things that we are doing that is kind of aligned in that direction. But also, particularly that credit score thing, I think that makes sense at a population scale. Right? Today, we are okay with saying it, we are a pretty boutique solar solution to many people, right? At that scale, I don't think it's a right fit to introduce now, but there's a bunch of things that we are building that is designed for population scale that's coming up soon. I think these will be add-ons and aggregates on that.
When you say boutique, does that, in simple sense, it is more customizable, it's not one fit for all. Does it also reduces your scalability?
No, not really. We are boutique from the sense that, think of us as a small cafe that's sitting in a corner with a certain aesthetic that we are going for. There's a certain flavor we are going for. But what we are building is something that anyone can participate in, right? So from a technology layer, it's immensely scalable. From a direction level, we are very curated, if that makes sense.
How does the regulatory part excites you? Because from a student background to building SundayGrids from scratch, knowing more about how does marketing works, finance works, everything from ground up, and then coming directly into a highly regulated market, right? It's electricity. How much challenges did you guys face to figure out that what exactly you need to build around? Because there can be many ideas that comes in your mind throughout a day, months or years, but that has to be checked on a regulatory framework also, right? So how excited is the team to bring up more ideas, new ideas on the table? Because I assume that 99% of those ideas will be framed out through regulatory issues.
I think naivety helps. When we started, we didn't know what we are getting into.
Correct.
Looking back, would we get into now knowing the complexity? That's a question in itself, but I think that really helped. But the way we regulation kind of flows both ways, right? I remember just after we started is when ALMM came in place. There was a lot of ambiguousness of how that's going to happen. There was a cap on net metering to be at 500 kilowatts.
Correct.
There was more ambiguity on that.
Correct.
And subsidies came, more ambiguity on whether housing societies will get it or not.
Correct.
There's so many of those things.
Very high volatility business. How do you play around it dynamically? Because you make a platform or a system as a standard. It's not a boutique in that fashion. It can serve different customer demands. But how do you cope up with the regulatory changes? One regulatory change occurs as we speak. We have 2 rupees per unit reduction in corporate and industrial tariff in Karnataka, right? So it is a threat to the entire industry as a whole and the system. How do you play around it?
It's great for us though, because we operate at a domestic tariff rate. Them coming lower means a lot more industries are now eligible for us to be our client base. So great that way. So here's where I think about it, right? At a regulation perspective, especially because we are not that connected, I don't think worrying about them at the micro level is going to help us. At a macro level, I think regulation and where we want to be is aligned. We want to make it extremely safe for the users. We want to make it extremely transparent for the users. And more importantly, we want to accelerate the timescale at which we can get solar adoption in place. I think in those three things, the regulators and we are super aligned, right? So maybe we may what they say may not fit us at the moment, but at a longer time scale that really works. So what I just mentioned to you are all the negatives, right? But then peer-to-peer happened, virtual net metering happened, opening up of green open access.
Government is also very active in bringing in newer and newer initiatives.
So I think if you zoom out and look at a longer time frame, I think very aligned. So that's pretty cool.
Correct. Which are the top 5 target states for digital solars or SundayGrids in India?
States?
Yeah.
We have Karnataka, followed by Tamil Nadu, then Mumbai, then Kerala, and then Delhi.
And is it a pattern more related to where there are more high-rise buildings?
Surprisingly, so I would say yes for Bombay and Pune areas in particular. But we also see a little bit of distrust in discoms playing a role. Tomorrow, like I install solar, I know how to deal with these guys, so I don't want to do that. Might as well just give it to somebody else who will manage it for me. That comes into a play. Lot to do with. So in many ways, think of it as a ladder of awareness we have to take a customer through.
Correct.
Right? If someone who knows nothing about solar, to start off with is we have to start with the fundamentals and keep growing up.
Correct.
We surprisingly see states, especially Hyderabad, Telangana, Kerala, Kochi areas, Chennai, etc., where customers are already, let's say, 1 or 2 rungs above than most other places. And that's mostly to do with the local presence and awareness that they have already built up. Now they're just looking for ways that they can tap into solar. Right? So for us to convert those customers becomes slightly easier compared to certain other places.
Correct.
So that also plays a role into why we see higher density in these areas.
Correct.
But that being said, Bangalore is like an early adopter in many things.
Correct.
Our first city to basically reach scale is also Bangalore. So yeah, that's
great. So there are also certain insights plays around different kinds of products and services. When you talk about EVs or electric 2 wheels, right? So the TG primarily, which people thought that would be, is people who want to have the lower operational cost of it. But it turns out to be the TG is people who already own a 4-wheel. And then those are the people who are more environmental conscious and they are switching to EVs.
Right.
And when it started, now the trend has shifted is what I've seen. So is there any such insights for your TG also?
Yeah. In fact, I would say in many ways, our initial TG literally overlapped with the EV TG that you were talking about, right? Have the propensity to make a capex investment right now for savings down the line. Also have a alignment on sustainability, etc. Have those lifestyle nuances come into play. That was really important. So that I would say there was a huge overlap that way. And today, like even just before this, like I was in a conversation with a group that was just talking about how like KSAB in Kerala is changing things around solar over there. Now they're like, hey, what are the other alternatives? And then somebody invited me into that group to say like, hey, you know what, they're talking about SundayGrids, would you like to engage, right? So there's not only a push from our side, there's a lot of these pull factors that's happening as well.
Correct. So any such, because it's more about SundayGrids now has been pivoted more about to offer savings to the customers and speeding up the bill payment process, right? So is there any financial case study which you want to share that you have committed X IRR on a project to a customer and it has exceeded your expectations, right? And what was the customer's feedback on it? Because it's a new concept, right? The viewers want to also see that how does it work? Is it trustable? Because I would say it's when you target to the new customers, right? New customer acquisitions who are not aware about digital solar, it is more perceived as a stock market, an investment in a stock market, as buying a pie out of a solar panel, right? How do you build that trust factor?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's very important because
solar, when we think, people do think of solar as an investment, whether it's they're on their rooftops or they come to us.
Correct.
But inherently we are an appliance, right, that you basically install at a location. The transition for that has to be good product design, and also you feel like you're in control of that to a large degree. We are constantly building stuff around those things. Now, coming back to that whole trust thing, there is perceived trust and earned trust, right? Things like Tata Power, as I mentioned, or Zerodha, etc. These help in the perceived trust bucket. But what we see, and this is really cool for us, is a lot of customers start off with, let's say, half a kilowatt or even a quarter a kilowatt or something, and then they start upscaling on the capacity that they reserve. It's like today, for the last couple of projects that we launched, almost what we see is consistently around 40% of the reservations that happen through existing customers, them upscaling. Their objectives are, okay, now that I know that a smaller one has worked out, let me go for the bigger one, right?
So are you also following the growth strategy or customer acquisition strategy what Zerodha has followed, like earning the customers organically without any marketing? Would that work best?
That's the best. We do have to do marketing though. I mean, that's not from hey, let's go generate revenue. Of course, that's a goal, but mostly that our customer base, our cohort, is essentially people who live in apartment buildings. But the problem is, if they are not aware of something like this existing, they're not even incentivized to even search for on Google or something. Right? So essentially, our entire strategy right now with marketing per se is just to let people know that something like this is possible. We don't spam our customers. We don't do any of that thing. Like they can come, they can do self-checkout. We are happy with it. So that's kind of the.
How difficult is it to convince a customer? Because before you, physical solar has come, right? For residential also. So when you ask a customer to invest in digital solar, wherein they cannot see the asset physically, right? So did you felt that there's a tangible value missing out of it? Rather than product, you are switching it to services, which is intangible. And again, has that shifted customer behavior, or has it posed a barrier to acquisition of customers at your end?
I wouldn't know because I've never sold physical solar. It's only been this. So I don't know how that trend would have played out. But that being said, one of the first things that we made sure that we have in place is that we need our customers to see real-time generation. So anyone who can log in anytime, they can see how the plant is doing at that moment. If anything happens, there's always a community on the side where they go, they talk about it, where they also see the panels being cleaned. They get to see photos, they get to see. So we are basically creating alternatives for that, what is being lost in that tangibility through other experiences.
What do you think? Is there a barrier still exist? When I say barrier, it's more about financial barrier for residential customers to switch to solar, for both physical or digital solar. Even though government is giving subsidies, right? Is there still a financial barrier to the households?
100%. I don't think many people think of it as a need. More like a want in many ways. So wants can vary from people to people, right? So it's not like, having a refrigerator, having a TV. These are considered to be the brown goods that everyone kind of aspires to have as a baseline. And then the above that, it varies from people to people, right? Some people are like, okay, I'm okay paying that energy cost, and that's fine. So, but what we want to do is we want to make it cool to have solar, and we want to make it super easy to have solar. I think that really plays a role when it comes to how people approach us as well.
Correct. And let's talk about more other impact rather than financial and scaling of the startup. So what would you see, like what is the social and environmental impact down the line 5 years that SundayGrid would be able to create? It can be many things like jobs, environmental impact, or helping someone out of any problems that are real social problems, right? What would you see, like how SundayGrids would be able to change that fabric, social and environment fabric on the ground?
Going back to power of defaults, if there comes a day when solar becomes a very default behavior set for people to have it, for people to tap into it, I think that's a win. And if we can create these surfaces where people can, lower all sorts of barriers to basically getting there, I think that's a win. But there is a thing that we keep thinking internally as well. Like if you track how computers kind of went through, right? You had these large scale server computers.
Correct.
Then you had microcomputers. Then PCs came in. Then smartphones came in. And then there was a layer of abstraction that happened where the compute happened in the cloud.
Correct.
Right? That kind of is happening with energy as well, if you think about it, right? You had these large dams and new power stations, and then solar and wind kind of brought that space. I mean, solar in particularly brought it even down. You can have it on your own rooftop.
Correct.
Right? And now we are flipping the thing to that layer of abstraction.
Into the cloud of solar.
To the cloud of
solar.
solar.
Internet, that's what you...
Yeah. Right?
That's it, your tagline.
No, that's a vision statement as well. Right?
Yeah.
Now what's interesting is, it's not only is compute important, what apps people build on top is important.
Correct.
Right? Now we are in an exciting stage to see what apps do others build on top of what we have. We have a couple of things coming up in battery swapping, EV charging. There's a bunch of things that's coming up. I think that's like a really cool thing for us to see. And
thanks for listening to the Enerparc Energy Podcast. Stay connected for more episodes. Don't forget to like, share, and follow.